Welcome to another episode of Burn the Wagon. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. I was just telling the listeners, welcome to another episode of Burn the Wagon. We're here to burn the wagon that is capitalism, patriarchy, and colonialism. And I'm just going to do a little quick prayer, and then we'll get going on the questions and all that we got going. I want to send love to anybody that's out suffering from domestic violence issues. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from drug addiction. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from unhoused situations. I want to send love to our Palestinian relatives. I want to send love to Cole Brings Plenty. I want to take a moment for him. And if you're out there wearing your braids today, we appreciate that. So, yeah, we'll take a moment really quick for him. And thank you guys for joining us. So today my guest is Light Horse Cattle Co. And I'm just gonna go ahead and let yourself give yourself an intro, and we'll go on from there.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me on. Um, I am Cherie Carr, and I operate, and my friends and folks know me as Pixie Light Horse. I write books under that name. Um, Light Horse Cattle Company was started about in 2014, and we used Light Horse for our Emofa, our grandfather, who served as tribal police in the 1920s, 1930s. I'm the chief mama rancher at Lighthorse Cattle Company in the tribal homelands of Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. My people are from 5 tribes from the South. So enrolled Choctaw with Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, Muskogee Creek, Cherokee, and Chickasha. I didn't grow up on a reservation. I think you're going to ask me that. In Indian Territory, under the Dawes Act, our lands were divided up into allotments. So I grew up in Bakersfield, California.
Oh, okay. I just like to see the difference of just like res natives and non-res natives, just because like people tend to think like we all of us just live on reservations, and that's the only place we exist. So I'd really love to just amplify that. Like we exist in all places, all cities, everywhere.
Yep,
So you said established in when? The ranch?
2014.
Okay. And was it you were that started that?
I started it with my dad and with my partner at the time. And I've been running it by myself for the last 3 years. My dad was here with me for about 14 months, and he just died in November. So it's just my daughter and I now.
Sending love to your dad.
Thank you. He was a goodie.
Um so what livestock is on the ranch?
Just bovine at this point. I mean, I have equine too, but yeah, cows. It's a cow calf operation, and I graze on 68 acres here, and calve out, and everything that's born here. Everything is born here and harvested here, so it's all doesn't ever get trucked around or doesn't ever leave the land.
And how big is the amount of cows that you have?
That's like asking a woman how old she is. It varies anywhere between 15 or 20 up to, I've grazed up to close to 70 up here. So it just depends on, what the land is doing, what the land needs. I bring in cows for lease if to lease graze on this grass, if I don't have enough to keep the grass down and keep the manure on the ground and, keep it fertile. So, um, yeah, just about that.
And how often are you I guess like killing cows and doing that whole process?
Yeah, harvesting. Used to harvest about a dozen a year, and I sell quarters, halves, and wholes. And I'm harvesting about 6 to 8 a year now.
Oh, wow, okay.
Not very.
And what is where are you where are you selling these at? And or trading or whatever, however you go about it.
Yeah, trade and sale all over the state of Oregon, mostly Portland, a little bit Eastern Oregon, mostly here in Central Oregon.
That's really cool. Is there any, would you want to expand to any other animals or just keep it bovine?
I don't don't know how to handle any other animals. I mean, I barely know cows. I sort of got thrown into it. We had a 150 mama and cow calf operation back in California. And, I don't know if I was asleep at the wheel or I was just running the branding iron and running out medicines and stuff, but it's been like a real learning curve to throw myself back into the operation. I got kicked last year and got my ankle broken from doing something stupid. And so, these are easy desert Angus mix cows. That's what this land allows for. We were talking a little bit about, not everybody can run buffalo out on their ground, but this ground is made for beef. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
but yeah, I mean, my grandpa used to like to mess around with hogs, and I hear a lot of need. I was talking to Ben at Takabe at Intertribal Ag Conference back in December, and we were talking about, our family's woodlands food is a lot of rabbits. And I thought, I could think for about 15 minutes on a rabbit operation, and then I just thought, no, cows are easier. Can't get into no cute little rabbits. I mean, there's just so little that you have to work with for every animal. And so I don't know. I think I'll probably stick to cows for now.
Yeah, and you have to have a lot of rabbits to just like produce whatever. Because what are people producing the rat for the fur, right?
Meat.
Oh, or rabbit something that you can sell?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a staple food for our people, along with things like catfish and little deer and things that were down in the south. I'm from Southeast, so rabbits were a big part of our diet.
I had it in high school when I was out hunting with friends, but I didn't know that was something that was like that was huntable or like
Pretty much
um
everything's huntable.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I've got enough marmots on this ground out here that if I knew how to eat marmot, I'd figure that out too.
Because I think out here like you have to get like a fishing or hunting license and there's like regulations on what you're able to hunt or like fish or whatever.
You're
Is it
kind
the
of in the
same?
city, right?
I'm in Point Arena. No, I'm in Mendocino County, which is very, very like small, rural, like out in the woods. So yeah, we even us on the reservation, we have to go through the process of getting a fishing or hunting
Yep.
license.
I mean, out here it is a little different. I don't think anybody needs any kind of a um, tag to harvest rabbits or anything like that. It's just there aren't a lot of rabbits out here. I see the occasional, but yeah, it would be farmed rabbits, a
Yeah,
rabbit operation. But
yeah, okay, okay, that makes more sense. You were saying that cattle isn't a native into our diet. It wasn't. It was brought here at some point. Do we know at what point cattle was brought over here?
I think they've been over here about as long as the Spanish were here. They brought them over. So down to in the southeast, I mean, my tribes had contact with Europeans long before the rest of the continent did. I mean, we were some of the, along the coastline and then down into the developed southeast. The French and the Spanish were there even before the British were. And so, we've got. It's funny when we talk about assimilation and stuff. It's like we had 250 extra years of contact over a lot of different tribes and nations. But yeah, beef became part of that lifestyle as they started to roll in and as we started to find our way around it as agrarian peoples who were non-nomadic. We just learned how to farm everything, which is why tribes were successful in the territory because it was farmland. It wasn't the best farmland, and it was real different from what they were used to, what the ancestors were used to. But yeah, there's some flack now and again for beef not being a traditional food. It's not that hard for me to trade when people do want to trade it for moose and salmon and buffalo and stuff like that. I mean, people, natives still love beef, steaks and ground beef and stuff like that. So I don't have any trouble trading it. But yeah, I get a little flack now and again for not growing traditional foods, and I'm just like, cut me some slack, y'all, because
I mean,
this is
think
this is
about
the land
think
I'm
about
on. It's viable protein.
yeah, think about fry bread. That's not a traditional food. That was a
Hey,
forced food that like we were like had to find. We had certain ingredients and then made it all work together. And think about Indian tacos. It's always ground beef on Indian tacos. So.
that's right. Unless you eat at Takabe, I think they use ground bison.
Oh, okay.
At least you have the option.
Do you remember at what point you were the first time you rode a horse?
Oh gosh, probably not. I've seen pictures of when I was a real little baby. But I remember riding along. We used to ride along the canals and stuff out in southeast of Bakersfield. Lamont is where I grew up, little farm town, labor camps and things like that. And there was a big Choctaw migration in the 50s and 60s with urbanization. And my grandpa just thought it was the land of milk and honey. So he loaded up the jalopy and all the kids and everything and moved out there in the 60s. And yeah, my dad got his first horse just before I was born. He was a teenager, and then he would, as soon as I was big enough to hold my back upright, I was on horseback with him, riding around the canals and racing along and
So
stuff.
you were grow up around farms pretty much your whole life because Bakersfield is pretty like farm. It's pretty farm territory, right?
Uh, Oil and carrots and pistachios and almonds. Yeah, it's pretty farmy.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
water
okay.
diverted into that
At
area.
what
The
point did you make your way up to Oregon?
2013, I moved up here, and then 2014, I moved over the Cascades to the east here to the valley. I mean,
That,
sorry, to the desert.
that's really cool. Is there many other native owned like ranches in that area?
Pretty much one, and that is, well, that's not true actually. I think there's somebody doing buffalo here now. Sakari Farms is kind of my homie. She runs produce and medicinal plants and tribal squash and things like that out of her farm out there in Tumalo.
That's really cool. And are you able to attend like farmers markets or anything like that, or do you mainly just stick to like trading and stuff like that?
I mean, I steer clear of it because I don't sell cuts, I sell shares. So
Mm,
there's no real point in me taking up space in a market when I have so little to sell and they're sold in bulk. Um, Markets are weird, they're dominated by Naholo, and they can get a little political, and I want to be as political as I want to be in my way, but I don't really have to. I'm not trying to mess around in uh, those kind of markets and with them kind of people. It's tough out there. It's a tough market, and everything from the way nonprofits are subsidizing farms and the way the USDA is working. Sometimes there are allies, and sometimes they're not. But yeah, we do the best we can.
yeah, and farmers markets are run by like kind of like usually some tough people to work with.
Yeah.
Um, when you say you sell shares, what does that mean?
So under the current state laws and um, at, I run a CSA operation, so it's basically like a community supported agriculture. So I have to sell the animal before I harvest it, and people buy a quarter or a half or a whole animal, and then they see it in some fashion before it's harvested, and that way it bypasses USDA inspection. State
Mm,
inspection is starting to come around here, but yeah, we bypass USDA because USDA inspection A doesn't mean jack shit. It just means that the animal doesn't have a communicable disease to humans. It can be USDA inspection. They have to do it for grocery stores and things like that, and I understand why, but it doesn't mean it's a healthy animal. That is USDA approved is not synonymous with healthy animal or raised right or, um, yeah, a lot of people doing a lot of weird things with livestock out there, and this operation doesn't do
so
that.
having the like having a like smaller amount of cows would probably be like allow you to give them more attention and give put out healthier cows, right?
Sometimes, I mean, my neighbors are turtle banded Chippewa over there, and they have a pretty healthy sized operation, beef operation. It's about, I think they have about 75 mamas over there, and they do less of a program than I do in terms of um, vaccinations and things like that. Like I get to kind of cherry pick what is necessary. We have different things in this area like liver fluke and things like that because we run canal water through ditches and that's what they drink off of. So, I have to doctor for certain things that lots of operations don't, but they do even less than I do in terms of health, and they've got a pretty healthy operation. I mean, they've got people walking through their cows every day, just like I do here. So it's a matter of just keeping an eye on it. And if you have a bigger herd, just have to know your animals.
That's crazy because so much more goes into it than I'm thinking about when I'm eating my food.
Yeah, we're trying to raise the awareness on that. When you're eating your food, there's always, if you're eating beef, there's always a rancher or a cow person behind it, or, hopefully a family and stuff. I mean, a lot of, like I said, a lot of strange things going on in livestock and meat production and stuff like that. And not everybody has access to ranch raised beef, and so we got to be mindful of that too. I don't want to slight consumers for having to get their proteins where they got to get their proteins. I think that's why I like working with friends and family and like families with babies. And I process all the organs here by myself. And so we process the liver for babies' first foods and um, heart for folks in tribal communities that are suffering with health issues and things like that. So I get a little bit of play in there with what I do. So yeah. I mean, thinking about where our food comes from, we want to be able to do that. And we also need to have a lot of grace around folks who don't have the privilege to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Because and this is something I'm like I was just starting like I'm getting involved in the community garden out here, and just like food sovereignty, giving people like access to food that they might not have access to, because like we're really out here in like a really rural place, and like it's 2 hours to the closest grocery store. So like giving people just access to like really good food and not having to travel or pay like so much like because like a lot of our like a lot of stuff is really expensive out there, and like if you want to get the good organic stuff or whatever, you got to pay a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, these certifications are so incredibly colonized. Like, organic doesn't mean what people think it means. It's maybe it has to be 60 or 70% organic. People are passing stuff here in Central Oregon off as organic and natural raised and stuff, and it's not. So, there's a lot of ways to break the rules on that. And yeah, I mean, just having, here's the thing, our tribal peoples are relational. Like, if you have a relationship with people who are growing your food, if you can trade whatever services or stuff that you're growing with other people, then that's the way we do it. So I think the more that we can barter and trade and kind of cut out some of those middlemen, the more we can get back to what we appreciate and have values around. Sometimes we have to trade for money because that's how we live under capitalism, but sometimes we can just share.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate way of going about it, because I mean we have that's the only way to survive right now. With like we have to like be able to like get money to continue to do things, unfortunately.
It's true.
You said the name Light Horse comes from your grandpa, and he was a tribal
Yeah,
policeman.
yeah. 5 tribes. All the tribes have light horsemen. Um, for the tribal police. So we adopted that name. Well, I actually gave my son Lighthorse as a middle name 18 years ago when he was born. And we just tracked that story through our family lineage. And so it just seemed kind of like just seemed like an easy go-to when it came time to rename my business. And um, yeah, and it's out here in West, nobody knows what Lighthorse is,
Yeah,
in the territories, everybody knows what the light horse is. And then after res dogs, like now we all know what light horse is.
yeah. I didn't even
It's
put that
great.
together because I was thinking that because that was going to be my question was that his name, or was that the
His
okay that
name
I
was Dennis.
yeah, because I didn't even put the connection to Res Dogs, to be honest.
Yeah, big. He's driving his light horse
Yeah, I
car around Creek
forgot that
Drive.
was the name. Yeah, so speaking of being a rancher, and I always like to ask this question to people because everyone kind of has their own definition of it. So I always like to ask, what does land back mean to you?
I mean, it's the movement of our lifetime. It's our aim. Um, it's I mean, personally, it means life back. It means tribal ways back. It means self determination back. It means sovereignty. It means relationality. It means our health. Yeah, I think that it's a way of pushing back on the kind of domination and violence that exterminated 98% of our populations, and we're still here kind of cutting up and breaking rules and making trouble and finding our way. I think some of the biggest obstacles is we have we're losing a lot of people. We're losing elders, we're losing youth. And so um, Gosh, that is a really broad question. What does land back mean to me? I mean, I think a lot of folks, Nahalo especially, get scared because they think that they're going to have to give up their homes and things like that. And so I think I like the work that the Tilsons are doing around land back, because it really breaks down and helps people understand what land stewardship is, what public lands are requiring, needing fire control and different things like that. I think that it sounds like a revenge battle, and that's not what it is to me. I feel like it's unfolding in the way that we understand. I mean, I have a very snotty attitude about it sometimes when I see, billionaireism, or like people just land grabbing and land hoarding, and I'm just like, give us our fucking land back, like and when we say it like that, it scares people. But what it means is like the land, doesn't like belong to us, but it like belongs to the people. So, but the people are not getting to experience the land in the way that we want to experience it, not being in kinship with it. It's overly hyper legislated, and the wrong people are in charge of what's happening to it.
Yeah, like what's happening here in my hometown, is one person is buying up all like the empty buildings and all the lots, and raising the rent on people, and if they can't pay it, he kicks them out. So it's like that's just like stuff like that happening everywhere. So like I just hate seeing stuff like that. It's just like capitalism, just like taking over my little hometown, and gentrification happening so quickly.
Yeah. I mean, what we saw with the Maui fires and the bizarre situation there with all the key players, the Meta owners and PayPal owner and Truthfinder, like all these MFs just scooping in and being like, we'll take your burnt down lot. Ooh, that makes me really hot.
Yeah, and it's
Opportunity.
insane how quickly they're able to just jump in and be like, "Yo, I'll buy this for like super cheap," and it's like that's not what it's about. Like you said, I like what you like. A lot of people say this is that the land doesn't belong to us. It doesn't really, but like not necessarily. Like we were the first people here, and we took care of it in a way that you aren't.
Yeah, I think there's a real misunderstanding of what stewardship is. And I think that because of the types of racism that we experience here, who trusts Indians to legislate the land, or to steward the land, or to care for the land? You know, I think that I mean, I get such BS all the time about how we're a conquered people, and I'm like, nope, we're still here, and we're just regular folks walking among you, like um taking care of shit. Like one of my friends talks about how like the Himalayan Tibetans are holding us together, like humanity, keeping us glued together in their prayers. And I'm like, yeah, and Native people have been doing that since at least the sacred pipe coming in, have been, praying for you too, folks, like for all of us. I think there's a real misunderstanding. Maybe I'm stuck on that a little bit. Yeah, there's a real ignorance, and some of it's like premeditated and intentional ignorance about what's happening to all of the capital P people. And so when we, as Indigenous people, start agreeing on things, agreeing on what we know, then I feel like we become stronger to keep those that basket weave that humanity relies on so much on this continent to like just keep us together, you know, like we have to trust each other too. I get a lot of lateral. Um, I was talking a little bit earlier about how, you know, beef aren't is not tribal food, or I don't know. I dye my hair. I've been getting shit for decades because I don't meet anybody's standard of what Indian is, and so I just kind of hang back out of the crowd a little bit, you know, and don't get into it with too many people because it's sometimes it's not safe. And so what I'm feeling and hearing and experiencing is that those conversations are becoming and experiences are becoming a lot more possible intertribally, and that's very heartening because we really need each other.
And you must run into that like so much because think about how much of the cattle game or whatever you want to call it is run by like white men, and a lot of these
Just like
white
everything else.
men, yeah, exactly, and a lot of these white men are like just generation and generation after generation of just like colonizer, settler, colonial like colonists that are just like think this land just like just belongs to like every bit of it belongs to them.
It's true. And oddly, like I have had, I don't know, my dad was Indian cowboy, so we've like kind of lived in both worlds in that way. Um, I also have interacted with a lot of descendants of settler colonizers, especially in this particular country, who actually really deeply understand our values more so than what I would call like, I don't know, this probably isn't okay to say, but like, you know, like urban Indians, you know, indigenous people who are in cities. Like there's a real different ideology. If you're country people, then sometimes whether we're Indian or non, we get along. We understand the nature of land and law and things like that. Sometimes even more than our academic Native counterparts and kin. So you know, I don't know. I feel like Land Back is an invitation to anyone and everyone who wants to participate in seeing things change in terms of like I don't understand why any common person would be pro billionaireism. Like I just that doesn't make no sense to me whatsoever. So I also don't understand why we haven't already smashed the stupid ass two-party system politically. That is getting nobody anywhere. So I don't know. We're seeing a lot of stuff and so it's it's feeling like tensions are building, you know, and folks are starting to realize that when you're common people, you have a lot more power together than you do in factions. But yeah, I'm always just kind of praying for folks to for Creator to just wake us up to the knowledge that like we really need each other right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like you see it more and more of people just shutting shit down and like playing into what you're saying, like fuck this two-party system, because it really doesn't they really don't care about who we are, the working class people. I mean, it plays into who, yeah, the only
Really
people that
obvious.
it really benefits is like what you're saying, those billionaires people.
Yeah, they kind of have us in a headlock, you know, and so it's up to us. And I really lean into you know, my grandparents, my dad, my native um, kin, because there's like we know in our DNA, you know, and it's not that hard to pull folks on board with us. But if there's such a tendency, I think, with our colonizer DNA as well. There's such a tendency to make everything an opportunity or to capitalize on everything or like what's in it for us, you know, to be very fiercely individualistic, to be invulnerable to what comes up when we're in kinship with each other. You know, not wanting to have those kinds of experiences, and it shuts people down emotionally. um, it makes it impossible for us to see the changes happening, but we know it, like we feel it. We just have to really check that. We talked a little bit in our writing back and forth about what decolonizing is. That's a scary term as well, and It's the way I talk about it with campfire friends is like, it's like getting unpossessed by that bad spirit that divides us into like soldiers for disaster capitalism that's claiming our elders, claiming our youth, has taken so much from Native people, but all people without giving back. Like we have an illusion of healthcare, we have like an illusion of security. Like everybody's so tense and afraid of the next, like the next shoe that's going to drop. Like, I feel like it's really playing on us in our spirits. And so, you know, the powers that be, like the give back that they offer is always on their terms, and it seeks to just keep assimilating us into their industrious classes. And I think what I get caught up in conversations I get caught up in is like, can't you see how the bottom line is channeling into their narrow funnels of wealth for their children and grandchildren and whatever planet they're going to colonize next? Like decolonizing is for everybody. Like it's something that, like, late stage capitalism, end stage colonialism, like it's kind of killing us. And why can't we see that? Like our people have been seeing that for a long time. And it's not that others haven't, but it's like, when are we going to kind of like get together around this? And when are we going to take the scary out of things like land back and decolonization movements and things like that? It's a lot to process. I feel like I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who are trying to navigate the edges of it, just like come a little closer. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to bite you. All good things are going to happen unless you're billionaires, in which case, like, please go to another planet in another galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think if we all get rid of these mindsets of being capitalistic, being like of colonialism, we'll all live better lives. I truly believe that. And I heard this quote a while back that was that natives are living in a post-apocalyptic world because their world is complete. Our world is like completely just gone.
Is it though?
And well, the world is not, but the life and like what we used to be, like how we used to live life is pretty like close to gone, because not a lot of people are willing, and we're getting back to it. I see when I go to events, I see people trading, but not everyone is getting back to that because we're still having to live in the trading for money type life.
That's definitely got a shelf life, and I think we'll see the end of that in our lifetimes.
You think so? I think like it's getting like you said, it is getting pretty like people are over these two-party systems, and you do see some type of collapse coming. I just don't know when. But you do definitely think it's in our lifetime?
That's my guess based on how things are going. I mean, it's pretty contentious out there, and it's pretty fragile technology wise. I mean, yeah, doctors won't even take cash anymore. It's so weird to me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I feel like if we have to pretzel ourselves to fit into the ideological project of where colonialism is today, then we need to really be thinking about, and our way is to pray too. Like we need to really be praying about like for what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be acting, how we're supposed to feed ourselves and feed our people, and ditch this every man for himself. I mean, even before we got so pushed apart from each other in terms of um, the levels of supremacy that people feel in between their classes and races and regions and different things like that. I mean, like everybody lived in a village, even here. Like the colonial project made monsters out of decent immigrants, and so I feel like you know everyone is a part of this project. And so everyone can, should they choose to, get back into a village mentality. And it doesn't necessarily mean dialing back. I mean, like our prophecies say that this is not unexpected, that we are to actually um, go through this whatever we've been through, this colonial project, and now it's in its kind of late to end stages, and it's very uncomfortable, and and all of our things have been taken away, all of our security, like all our freedom. Those of us who are interested in liberation and liberatory movements, we know that it's an absolute fallacy. We do not actually have any freedom. Like, we are hostage to convenience and consumerism, and man, we're really riding that horse all the way down the field. So didn't know we were going to get into all this stuff, man.
Yeah, like I like
Thought we were going to
to.
talk about cows.
We get into whatever, we just let it go.
It is
Yeah,
called Burn the Wagon, after all.
yeah, and I'm like I said, burn the two party wagon system, burn it down, and we can start all over, and hopefully get back to ways that we lived before. Because I live on the res here, and like you said, we're like out here, we're really trapped. Like we're trapped in like consumerism and just opioids and just things like that are just like taking our people. Like you said, people are dying from this, and like it's really bad out here. And like I just hope to like create just spaces that are drug and alcohol free, and hopefully those are ceremony, like you said, getting back to praying. And is that something that you are connected to, or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a real different world. Like, the world of ceremony in is, to me, so it's very male dominated, and a lot of the ceremonies were created for men to experience what women do just by bleeding and having children. And so I have always gone sort of, had a little bit of a, what do I want to call it? My relationship with ceremony has been dependent on, who's running the ceremonies, how safe I feel as a female there, whether they're honoring life givers, what is the general attitude, and what does the space feel like? As a female, it's it's not like it is for males. I mean, the songs, the prayers, and things like that. I wasn't raised in my song traditions and things like that. So my family's getting back to that and getting reacclimated with that. But it's slow going. But that doesn't mean we can't be in prayer and ceremony any day we choose. I mean, all we have to do is, you know, light a fire and tune in to what Creator's got for us, and be with our Mother Earth, and we can drop right into it. We can all be in our prayer anytime we want, and especially if we it only takes, what do they say, it takes two people to make a meeting. um yeah, we just
Yeah,
get together and pray.
I mean, I grew up on the res, and I'm barely getting back into like ceremony and things like that. I definitely don't know any songs. I do dance, but I don't. I'm not able to go out and sing songs or anything like that, like for sure. So I just think that like you said, just being able to light a fire and have people around you that are willing to just pray for the same things, I think that's very important, no matter who you are.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be very fancy.
No, 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 not
And
at,
it
like
can be in whatever your language is, or whatever language you're learning. Like, I feel like it's important for us to be in our ceremony, be in our prayer. When we get a chance to participate in Sundance or Humblecha, or, I go to my nation's powwow, and it's so funny because last year they called in, like, Notorious Cree was there. There were fancy dancers there, and it's so freaking cool. The powwow drum is rocking. And then we go out to our area, and our dances are like corn dances. They're just like little shuffly sweet dances, and we have a variety of them, but like, they're not very glamorous. They're not the ones that are going to make anybody Instagram viral or anything like that. So, I always want to remind people too. I don't know if there's anybody going to actually listen to this, but like, there's 574 tribes and nations that are federally recognized, and probably 100 more that are seeking recognition. And the thing is like, that's like 574 little countries, that we all have different songs, different languages, different dialects, different food ways. We cross over, and we married each other, and we traded with each other and things like that. But like, this is a very diverse nation and ecosystem. And then our kin to the south and our kin to the north, it's like so many different things to learn and experience. And just, I don't know, I think it's interesting, as I'm sure it is for you too. Like when folks want to talk about you being Indian, they think you're one, you know, they're eagle feather headdress or one feather, and that's just not how it is, you know.
And that's that was the biggest thing with me, like creating this podcast, is just to show the diversity of who we are, because
Thank
we're
you.
not all like the what you see in the movies of like the stoic native who wants to clean up the earth. Yeah. I mean, a lot of us do want to do that for sure, but like, there's people that are just involved in like what you're doing in ranching, or people that do comic books or whatever it may be, that people that are hip hop artists, you know, it's a wide variety of people. And I think people, it's time for us to show who we are.
We're everywhere.
And like you said, there's city Indians, there's like city or urban, whatever you want to call it. There's res natives, there's people that didn't grow up connected to their culture at all, but are still native. You know what I mean? And that are still just now learning who they are and who they're connected to, and starting to learn things about themselves and their lineage. So I think we should encourage everybody to do that. And yeah, think like I just think we should all amplify that we're a wide variety of people, not just this, like you said, the one that got the feathers, or the ones that wear necklaces and sing and go to ceremony. Like, not every native goes to ceremony.
We love those natives too, but
Yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of us out there who are wearing our Canadian tuxedo every day, and you know, just going to work in a field somewhere. And I mean, social media has really helped us amplify the glory of being native to this continent. You know, it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love that my children get to see and experience all different kinds of indigeneity, and it's powerful for them. It's powerful for the youth to that. I can tell that, you know, when we go to powwow and stuff, they feel it, you know, and they're just emo shoegazing out there at the powwow in their very non-native looking outfits and their hoodies and stuff, you know. But I can tell, like, they feel that drum beat in their heart, and it's important. It's really important to keep on going for our youth. That's why we do this.
absolutely.
That's why we do this.
I 100% agree. Is there any other topics that I didn't bring up, or any way that people can support you or the ranch or your writings or anything like that? People can, where people can find what you write or anything like that. Definitely go ahead and just tell people whatever you want right
Do
now.
all do all the
Yeah.
plugs. Yep. Pixielighthorse.com is where my main home on the web is. Spotify actually just released my book that came out in December, and so it's available for Spotify is like, I'm not even going to get into the whole Spotify thing, but yeah. So my audiobooks are read by me, and they're on Spotify and everywhere you can listen to audiobooks, Audible, Apple iTunes, all that kind of stuff. Um, I want, you asked me this, and I was like, well, what's the best way to support the ranch? And I'm like, well, I'm not harvesting a tremendous amount of beef. It's pretty localized. Like, I think the best thing to do, especially for our foodways, is to like learn about our foodways, learn about your unique foodways, and trade like we always did. Cook it, you know, like harvest the plants, you know, protect the plants that get over harvested. Um, there's so much that we can do to protect our foodways. And when I say foodways and lifeways, because it's not just like native cuisine or corn mush cereal and things like that. Like we have a lot of really fry bread. We have a lot of ways that we can introduce people to our foods, but like trade it, cook it, learn it, you know, learn the language of the people who of the ancestral homelands that you live in, if you're non-native, you know, like at least learn hello and goodbye and thank you and stuff like that. Like, let's remember that if you were going to go to, I don't know, Spain, you would try to at least pick up a few words in Spanish so you could, you know, make a connection, make relationality. And that's what we're all about, is relationality.
Oh, this is the question I want to
To
add.
our relations.
Do you ever get tired of beef? Eating beef?
No,
Or
I really like beef.
I just like, because you're around it all the time, so like, um, it would be funny if you're a vegetarian. No, I'm just kidding.
I was for a long time. I was a vegetarian for 11 years, and then my dad was like, "You got to eat some elk. You're not looking so good." And he was right. I was getting sick, and so I started eating some elk and some deer that he was bringing home from his hunts and things like that. And then it wasn't long before I was back to eating meat again, and working it into my diet. We don't have to eat a whole bunch of meat to be well. We don't have to overconsume it. Like when I have my cut and wrap process meat, I have them put, just 1 pound packages, not 1.5 pounds. 2 steaks to a package, not three. We don't need to be eating giant freaking 24-ounce steaks and stuff like that. It's not good for our digestive system. But it's protein is something that most of us can agree that we want and we need. And so, yeah, about
Do you
that
strictly
much.
stick to like the cows you raise?
I mean, I eat whatever is offered to me. I'm not going to turn food away, and I'm not picky. And like I don't know. I have kind of like if I'm wondering about where some food came from, I just give it a little quick prayer, a little blessing. My friends are like, you kind of have a Christian Science approach to your food. I'm not going to say no to food. I think that all this, we didn't even talk about veganism, maybe another time, but like this socially acceptable eating disorder, I feel like this shit is really killing people. And there's so much plastic in our foods from what we're eating that's vegan. I'm so scared for the people and the children that are eating non-foods and calling it food. I don't think it's good for us. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to, of
Yeah,
course I don't want to
there's
piss
like
anybody
I
off.
would eat those impossible like there I would because I worked at a grocery store and they would just have free food and I would just grab like the impossible like sausages and like I don't know, I feel like there's just like I don't know, it's just weird.
Impossible is right. That's well named.
Yeah, like what goes into it to make it like taste like because they it tastes pretty similar. Like what is all going into it to make it taste like
Well, how the
yeah
ethos around cows is like how much energy they're taking or how much water it's taking. And like when you have the luxury of doing an operation in a good way, then you're not wasting a whole bunch of resources. But like what does it take to get all those plants and whatever they're putting in there and then like form it into a nugget or some kind of a shape and then plastic wrap it? And like I don't know what's going on with that bullshit, but
yeah.
I'm against it.
I'm not yeah I don't know. I personally would never be able to go down that path. Like even being a vegetarian like I it's I've never tried, but it would be pretty hard for me.
Yeah, I think we know better now, and I think that we're able to, you know, support each other in our dietary needs in the way that we need to. But I also feel like, you know, when I go somewhere and they offer me food, I'm not going to ask them where the hell it was raised or, any of that. That's nonsense. That's not
Yeah.
relational, you know.
Okay. Cool. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you,
That just was
friend.
like I would just because I just didn't know how like people who raise cows like go around like look like because cooks will do this like go around and just really judge people's food, right? Because they're a cook, so they're always like thinking of like I just didn't know if like people who raise cows did that too.
Probably. I mean, I'm sure some of us, but yeah, maybe cattle ranchers are not a monolith, you know. I eat anything.
Cool. All right,
Yep.
thank you. I really appreciate you coming on today, and I really like look forward to anything you have coming out. I'll be able to look into your writing and stuff like that, and I look forward to seeing you out there. Hopefully, one day I'll be able to try some of your guys'
Oh
meat.
yeah, we'll do it. Yep. Yaakov Keith, thank you so much for having me.
Right on. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. I'm about to be posting this right now. If you guys want to check it out, check out the homies over at the ranch, and yeah, tap in, follow them. Yeah, thank you guys for joining in. I look forward to see you guys in the April 21st at the Oakland Museum. If you guys are come tap in, if not live, I will be going live here. So yeah, thank you guys and thank you for supporting this episode. I'm about to post it now. Peace and love.